President Joe Biden's open border policy not going so well, folks. Joining us now to take that up and a number of things, former White House senior policy advisor to President Trump, Steve Miller. Steve, welcome back, as always.
Thanks for having me.
You know, since we talked last week about this immigration bad policy, the federal judge, enjoined the Biden from this 100-day moratorium on deportations. Now, I haven't heard the Bidens talk much about this, but it seems to me at least that's something good done by the judge.
That's definitely good news. Unfortunately, the Biden administration already supplanted the 100-day deportation pause with a new ICE memo that pauses about 95% of deportations. I would argue it's an effort to get an end run around the injunction, and I hope that this judge sees what the Biden administration has done to try to circumvent the injunction with a new memo that's almost the exact same policy, just a hair short, and will say that's also illegal and stop disrespecting my court.
Yeah, you know, disrespecting his court, I believe one of the quotes in his judgment was that they couldn't justify the 100-day moratorium on deportations. They couldn't justify it. So maybe he'll say no again, second time.
That's the hope, Larry.
Yeah, all right. There's rumors and talk and gossip, you're in Washington, you may have heard this, that the Biden administration really knows how bad their policy is, and they're gearing up, Steve Miller, they're gearing up for some major border surge, okay? There's a lot of talk about a coming border surge, which could be traceable directly to their policies, which ignore security. What do you know about a border surge?
Well, the Border Patrol agents and ICE officers who work inside the current administration, the same career professionals that we work with, Larry, have been warning the administration for weeks that if they persist in these policies, there's going to be a rush on the border like the world has never seen before, not just from Mexico and the Northern Triangle, but from the whole of planet Earth, because the word's gotten out that the border is open. And so, shockingly, being provided with this advice, the administration has decided to double down on these reckless policies. I want to turn to what Jen Psaki said in the clip that you played, because she made a rather astonishing statement that is, frankly, very disrespectful to our border agents and ICE officers. She said the reason they weren't returning illegal immigrant minors to their home countries is to avoid a dangerous trek back. Does Jen Psaki think that we send them back in the arms of smugglers? They're in the custody of law enforcement officers on chartered flights that abide by CDC protocols, that go home to welcome centers in their home countries to be reunited with their own families. We were bringing children back to their own parents and relatives in their home country on safe, humane flights. That's what she shut down, and instead, their policies are putting these children into the arms of coyotes and smugglers. That, Larry, is immoral.
That's a great point. That is a very important point. No respect for the law enforcement side of this. Steve, let me move on. President Trump's going to speak at CPAC on Sunday. I'll be down there Sunday morning, but he's going to speak in the afternoon. It's a huge thing, first speech since the inauguration. I expect you to be working on that speech along with others. What would you like to have him say? What's your take? What should he emphasize in this important CPAC speech?
Well, I can tell you that the president is very interested in doing a meaningful policy contrast with the Biden administration to lay out the two choices facing America's future. So he's going to talk about the economy. He's going to talk about opening our schools back up again so our children can learn and socialize and develop. He's going to talk about, obviously, the immigration issue, which the president believes, and I agree, is political suicide for the Democrat Party. He's going to talk about standing up to China, bringing back our manufacturing jobs. And Larry, he's going to talk about that blue-collar working-class agenda that I worked on, that you worked on, that President Trump pioneered, that I truly believe is the future of this party and this country.
So basically, this is music to my ears, Steve, honestly. Basically, he's going to talk about his achievements and where we should go from here, and why the other team's just not getting it done. You know, I'm going to talk legacy. I'm speaking Sunday morning. I want to talk legacy because I'm proud of the legacies. And you're saying he's going to go through the whole litany. I love that. I mean, I think that will be very, very effective. Good luck on that. I may weigh in myself.
And we're going to set the record straight, Larry, on the vaccines.
Yeah.
We're going to set it straight on the vaccines once and for all. President Trump engineered a medical miracle, and people are getting vaccinated today because of what he did, setting the record straight, telling the truth.
All right. Steve Miller, everyone. Great stuff. Really great stuff.
Thank you.